Which NFC West receiver is being criminally undervalued in FFPC drafts right now? What AFC East stack can be had easily and presents a high ceiling? And who represents the best value at tight end for the Cowboys in June high-stakes drafts? Plus, multi-league winner in both the Football Guys Players Championship and the FFPC, Derek Kappes will discuss some of his Football Guys Players Championship roster builds this season and much more. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts right now.
I can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me. Lesser make out of the messer. Take the headphone red just 'cause it was right there in the dresser. So easy. Pick me up, kiss me, and you squeeze me.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com, with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here's Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. And all I hear is just white noise when they're speaking. There's too much river from the voices in my head. I hear them singing.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you to the Quiet Hollers. Remember to check out their music at quiethollers.com or anywhere you buy music. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Farrell Elliott. Farrell, no excuses now. We are into minicamp season. We are into June. You haven't been drafting already, man. You got to get out there and start drafting.
Got to get out there and start drafting. It is a blast of fun. I think I'm on my 8th Football Guys team. I'm seeing some new trends develop as we get a little closer, Balky. I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah, we'll get into some of those trends, too, because a lot of the guests that we have coming up on this show are participants who already, like you, Farrell, have a dozen Football Guys drafts under their belt already this season. It's only going to get hotter and heavier, as well as our program tonight. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about a second-year receiver that might be on the verge of a massive breakout. We're going to talk about how Ben Roethlisberger's elbow will impact the Steelers' offense this season, and multi-league FFPC and Football Guys champ Derek Kappes is going to drop in for some discussion on a sleeper in the Bears' backfield, investing in the Seattle Seahawks this year, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. You feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, the show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Farrell is at J. Farrell Elliott. Derek is at Derek Kappes. That's DEREKKAPPES. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour is where to reach us there. 347-426-3682 is the phone number. That's 347-GAME-OBA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, those emails, and the tweets in the fantasy feedback segment coming up in the final spot of the show tonight. And thanks to our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and our producer and mutual friend Rob for monitoring all of that. The 2021 Football Guys Players Championship Early Bird is indeed live. Remember, if you are signing up by the end of this month and drafting prior to July 15th, you are going to get a free $35 FFPC credit. We'll do that up to 3 times for you. Big news, $500,000 for first place this year, but $100,000 for second. So as long as you're close enough, you can still get a six-figure prize, even if you don't win the whole thing, which is really good. The inaugural Best Ball Tournament has launched. We have 30-second sit-and-goes, 2-hour, 6-hour clocks, live drafts in that as well. Those are popping off every day. Take your swing at $100,000 there. The Dynasty Startups, the Best Ball Drafts Open, including $5 Cinco de Best Ball options. And don't forget about the checkered flag and the main event at KFFSC.com. Take your chance at a 5-figure grand prize in the main event out there, too. And don't forget about that $5,000 for first place in the checkered flag while drafts are still available there. By the way, if you're in the chat room tonight, We do have a special announcement coming before we sign off about next week's program, something special that's going on there. If you're Kevin Williamson, who's already in the chat room tonight, you already know what that special announcement is, but everybody else will find out before we sign off tonight. Thanks to Football Guys, Draft Sharks, NBC Sports Edge, and Rob for tonight's Fantasy Flash, kicking things off in northern Florida. Urban Meyer, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, said DJ Chark's film last year was, quote, a big guy that played little, this according to ESPN. Meyer said he didn't like DJ Chark's size. Quote, his strength, I just thought was way below average, way below what we expect from our receivers, and he was told that. He's a big guy that played little last year, and that can't happen. He's got to play big and strong. Chark put on 7 pounds of muscle, and we will see if this continues to motivate Chark the right way. DJ Chark, as we look at Football Guys Players Championship ADP, which we always get from our good buddy Darren Armani at FantasyMojo.com, over the last 5 days in Football Guys drafts, DJ Chark is wide receiver 32 at the 705. That is right after Cortland Sutton and Juju Smith-Schuster. It is right before Devontae Smith and Robbie Anderson. Farrell, we haven't talked about DJ Chark a whole lot, but the next receiver we're going to talk about, I think, is in the same boat as him, is we're kind of penalizing him for what we saw last year. Chark represents a good bit of value at wide receiver 32, in my opinion. Do you happen to agree with that?
I do agree with that, and I agree with what the coach is doing. Accountability is a big, big part of football, and he's putting it out there. Henry Jordan says that your great Vince Lombardi treated players all the same way, like dogs. But that wasn't correct, Balky. He selected. He was a master motivator, and he selected certain individuals to motivate them in different ways, and each one of them would require a little different attention. And as you say here, it appears to be working with DJ Chark. I love this receiver core down there. It's very inviting for this rookie quarterback, and if the coach likes big receivers, he needs to look no further than 6'6" Colin Johnson, who is free in drafts now, and I think will maybe unseat some playing time from some of these guys. But what a great look in Jacksonville as we move into this season.
Yeah, you mentioned Colin Johnson. I think we've talked about him on this program before, where if he would have come out a year earlier, there were some, teams and pundits out there that was saying he was going to be a first-round pick out of Texas. He stayed the next year, didn't fare so well, and then obviously tumbled way down NFL draft boards and has an opportunity in front of him with Trevor Lawrence tossing him on the rock this year. That Jacksonville offense is going to be fun to watch, not just with the receivers, but you think about Travis Etienne and James Robinson in the backfield as well. Fun times in Jacksonville. We haven't said that in a while. Now, moving on to that receiver that I was talking about at the top when we were talking about DJ Chark, Cooper Kupp said on Wednesday that his knee is doing really well. This according to Jordan Rodriguez on Twitter. Kupp missed the final week of the season last year with bursitis in his knee. This is something that he played with the entire season. He played in the wildcard game for the Rams, then he missed the divisional playoff against the Green Bay Packers. He said he called it a degloving of the tissues beneath my skin. I don't know if that sounds good at all. He said it wasn't bursitis, but he had it earlier in the year, but then didn't have the bursitis anymore. Then the tissue degloving is what took place at the end of the year. Cooper Kupp is 28 years old. He missed the entire 2018 season, or most of the 2018 season, with a torn ACL. Farrell, as we look at the ADP for Cooper Kupp right now in Football Guys drafts over the last 5 days, wide receiver 21 at the 504. This is right before Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson. It is right after DJ Moore and Jamar Chase. You look at the touchdown disparity, only 3 touchdowns last year, but he had a boatload of receptions. He had a boatload of yardage. Like, it was very comparable to Robert Woods. The main difference is the touchdowns. Are we unfairly penalizing Cooper Kupp for not getting in the end zone? And those owners that do take a chance on him in the mid-5th round, are they actually going to be very happy with that they went with Kupp and took the chance on him when we come back and look at this conversation in December and January?
I think they certainly will be. And anyone that has given up on this player is probably making a mistake. Now, arthritis, bursitis, 2 running buddies that show up after an ACL. I sometimes think in Los Angeles the team doctor and the medical staff there talk a little too much. We seem to get too much information about these players. I think part of that follows Todd Gurley around a little bit. But when Cooper Kupp came out, Balky, and this is something that has stuck to him. very, very early in his career. When he came out of college, a descriptor that I had never heard, being around football all these years, I had never heard that he slows the game down around him. Most players, they're talking about, oh, you got to pick up your game, you got to speed up your game, play faster, you're in the NFL. Cooper Kupp is the polar opposite of that. He has a rare set of hands, an exceptional ball tracker. Robert Woods has got to get separation. Robert Woods has got to be open to make that catch. Maybe Stafford, not as much as he has been in the past. But my point is that if the ball is catchable, Coop will go get it and catch it. Balance, physicality, those are his games. With the new quarterback, he'll return to be a red zone threat. And I hope he's healthy. Naturally, you need healthy, whether the game is in your speed or you have a very, very unique game like Kupp does, you need to have healthy knees to make the cuts and make the plays. But still, this player plays a unique game, and he can pay dividends with his skill set, unlike a lot of players. I'm always high on Cooper Kupp, middle of the fifth round. I've got to go get him.
Yeah, it certainly has a good opportunity to finish much higher than wide receiver 21. Speaking of receivers here, as we have a heavy wide receiver fantasy flash, Michael Gelkin, who writes for the Dallas Morning News, reports that CeeDee Lamb has actually been playing in 4 different wideout spots during the workouts in the offseason for the Cowboys. Mike McCarthy, quote, "He's an excellent example of what you're looking for in your second-year players. I see CeeDee making that jump. He is very comfortable, very natural." CeeDee Lamb last year, 93% of his routes were from the slot, obviously with Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper playing outside. He led the team in end zone targets, only with 3, because that's, or I beg your pardon, that was 3 red zone targets before Dak Prescott actually went down. And then, well, let's face it might have been all season because there wasn't a whole lot of red zone targets, end zone targets after that. CeeDee Lamb is looking, as we look, I actually just drafted him in the checkered flag championship with the FFPC. I drafted him on Monday night. Yes, thank you so much, Harold. I appreciate that. Wide receiver 12 at the 311, right after Keenan Allen and Terry McLaurin, right before Allen Robinson and Amari Cooper. One of the things that's interesting about this, Farrell, is Mike McCarthy, obviously the longtime coach in Green Bay. He always preached this over and over again, is he saw a lot of the draft picks that the Packers made would make this significant jump in year 2, the sophomore jump as opposed to the sophomore slump. And he looks there, it seems that CeeDee Lamb is poised to do that this year. Could have taken him or Amari Cooper. I went with CeeDee Lamb because I liked the upside better. I liked what I saw in the limited time with Dak Prescott last year. And I really love CeeDee Lamb this year. I wish I had more of him. I think I only have him in like 3 leagues so far, maybe only 2 leagues. But even wide receiver 12 at the end of the 3rd round, that's a price I'm willing to pay because of this guy's upside.
Yes, sir. If you're assigned a draft spot in the FFPC of the football guys, anywhere from 8 through 12, and you come into that 3rd round, that's CeeDee Lamb territory, and I think you'd be crazy not to get him. I expect him to continue to move up. Yes, natural and comfortable with a Duke's mixture of quarterbacks, a whole team that didn't look natural and comfortable. And at every position, Lamb brought in his rookie year a certain quality to this team. And I do believe even with Justin Jefferson's wonderful season last year, I would have to say that that's the one rookie receiver that outperformed Lamb last year. But there was something about Lamb's season which makes me think that he's got a lot of great football in front of him, and we haven't seen it yet. You know, it was a glorious class of rookie receivers. Last year, some of them we talked about last week with Nat Platsky. It was Rager stepping up. Van Jefferson is a first-teamer with the Rams this year, and people seem to be sleeping on him. And, Henry Ruggs was the first wide receiver off the board. Don't give up on Henry. There's a lot of guys that will need to step up in their second year. The CeeDee Lamb has the talent to step up, and I think he will.
I have a feeling we might get into some Henry Ruggs with our guest tonight, Derek Kappes, who's coming up in just a couple of minutes here, ladies and gentlemen. I know that gets Farrell excited anytime we can talk Raiders football on the HSFF Hour. We've been talking about a lot of receivers here. One other thing I want to touch on before Derek, we get to his interview. Michael Carter is the new fresh rookie running back in New York for the Jets. The Athletic's Connor Hughes says, quote, "It won't be long before fourth rounder Michael Carter is indeed the Jets' lead back. Now, Hughes is the beat writer for the Jets for The Athletic and has really been beat